Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
I am into thinner women, I would say, usually. That's just a preference, but not saying I wouldn't, be interested in somebody that's got a more, larger physique. I mean, I like that's fucking terrible too. Anyway.
Oh no. Okay, so there's a number of possibilities here. Two that come to mind are that he is not attracted to her, and that love is not blind for him, and that he is struggling, and he should never have been on the show if he wasn't willing to be with someone that wouldn't be his typical sort of person that he would hit on or something like that. And that body shaming and the male gaze and men thinking that they can dictate the way women are in terms of their bodies and their looks and, controlling all that, shaming them, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. The other possibility is that he's put his foot in his mouth, and what he's trying to say is, yeah, normally I will not date or be attracted or pursue women of a larger physique, as he put it, but I'm totally in love with her and I'm attracted to her, but this is the first night, so he might not know how things are going to work in all the ways, right, for him in terms of being attracted. So both of those are possible. On one hand, he could just be being honest. It's like, yeah, she's not typically the sort of person I would hit on, but I am all in and I'm in love with her and let's go. But the way that I'm guessing it would be interpreted. Now, I will say that it's been a while since we've seen Madison and Joe, and we didn't really get to know him very well. So, the only thing I have in my notes is that he doesn't like cats and that he seems a little immature. Not because he doesn't like cats, but just the way that he behaves. He's 28, I think, at the time of being on the show. He just got out of a 5-year relationship. I think he was engaged to that person. So that's all I have. They just didn't really have much. At this point, I wouldn't put a lot of money on this couple working out for a variety of reasons. I think mainly for that and maybe a little bit of this. I don't know.
It's not a date towards
I don't think
anything.
this. I'm not taking it personally.
Okay,
I promise.
okay.
Like, I feel like you're my person, but do you feel like that?
Yeah, I do. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't been showing this whole conversation, but it has those two possibilities that on one hand, he's a D-bag or he's not attracted to her or both, or he's just not great at communicating about these kinds of things, and he is trying to communicate that there's an adjustment period of, I didn't include this, but he was saying that I fell in love with this person, this voice, and then when I saw you, it was hard to kind of match those two things up. And it's so unfortunate that on this show, at least in the edit or the way things pan out, that people who don't fit the beauty standard, which in a lot of ways, I imagine that she does, if not totally, right? But unless you have everything that is perfect, particularly if you're a woman on the show, then it's just assumed that the guy is suffering somehow. And we don't know that. We don't know what's going on in his mind. I didn't show all the things that he said, but he was basically saying that he's all in and that he's attracted to her and they've yet to have sex, or they've yet to really have time alone away from the cameras, and so he's ready to go, and he might even believe and be the sort of guy or person that is like, look, I don't have to be 100% attracted to the person I'm spending the rest of my life with. There's a lot of things that I look for with someone I'm going to marry, and attraction is one of them, but it's not like the most important thing, and it's okay. You don't usually put that on a Hallmark card, but that's the reality for some people. Anyway, So there's that. But there's also this other thing that he's hesitating around her. This, she's asking this question of, what did you think of me when you saw me? And he, he's kind of hemming and hawing around it. And then she cuts to the chase and says, you're my guy. I'm all in. Are you all in? And he kind of hesitates. And so I think that there is some hesitation. It kind of looks like there's some hesitation there.
I mean, I feel like this is the person I definitely fall in love with. This is Madison. This is the Madison I fell in love with. This is my Madison. So I guess. Yeah.
You sure?
I swear.
I mean, I think what they need is just a few days together. I wish they would just have that time to see how things pan out. I wish that Casey and Patrick would have. That was one of the things I was talking with Stacy about when I took a break. That we were both like, yeah, why didn't she give it a couple days? Because in the hallway, it's weird. You can't know how things are going to feel, pheromone-wise, right? Chemistry-wise. Now, maybe for Casey, if she were being honest, she'd be like, no, there's no way this is going to work. I am so unattracted to him for whatever reason. But even then, it's such an overwhelming, weird experience. How would you know? And why wouldn't you give it a couple more days at least? Now, she would say, I don't know if I included this, but she was saying that he deserves better. He would be even more harmed if I went on the getaway with him, because I'm guessing that production might have suggested that, said, well, are you sure? I mean, maybe give it a couple days. I don't know. But they usually do only want 5 couples, and they had 6. So maybe they were okay with one going away. But I would imagine that they wouldn't want those 2 to go away. Anyway, so I guess we'll see. I've yet to really get to know these 2, so I don't know if I really care at this point as to what happens. So, maybe we'll care or all care as we move forward.
It touched my eye. You wasn't gonna do nothing about it?
I mean, actually, I'm gonna let him live.
No, it's gonna be in our nose and in our face during the night.
Now, let me save his life. Look at me saving a life.
And instead of just going around you back to the mirror.
I know I can't do that. I can't do that.
Interesting. So, by the way, I want to mention that which couple was it that was, it was Allie and Anton, which we haven't seen since episode 1. I sort of forgot what they looked like. And they were kissing, kind of casually-ish, right? They weren't like making out, but they were kissing, and Allie noticed that Anton had his eyes open when they kissed, and Allie said, don't keep your eyes open when we kiss. It's creepy. And I agree. Because my wife, I feel like for years and years, we would be kissing and I'd have my eyes closed. I wouldn't know that she had her eyes open. Now, when it's like makeout time, at least I'm pretty sure her eyes are closed. But I have my eyes closed. But there was a time when it was more of a casual kiss time, and I, for some reason, had my eyes open for a second, and I'm like, do you have your eyes open? Why do you have your eyes open? Like, close your eyes, and I think Anton said something like, I just want to look at you, or I don't know. I suppose if it's a casual kiss, maybe it's more like, I don't want to not kiss your face. Maybe we'll miss each other, like it will. Anyway, so that's a funny detail for me anyway. But now she sees a bug, and right away, I don't know, often these things do blossom, but as is right now, it's not a big deal. But she sees a bug, and she's like, oh, there's a bug in here. And it's a moth, I think it looks like. And she immediately criticizes him and says, you weren't going to do anything about it? Now, maybe she's just kind of making conversation, I guess. But, and then he is trying to do something with the bug. And I think what he's communicating is, I don't want to hurt the bug because that's kind of my policy. So let me talk about that just for a quick second. I grew up in a house in the woods, and my bedroom was in the basement for my teenage years. And it was an old house, and not only was it in the woods, but it was sort of in a little valley with a lot of, the house would flood a number of times, actually, not when I lived at home, but later. And there were a lot of bugs, a lot of centipedes and potato bugs, if you're familiar, and mosquitoes. I grew up with a lot of bugs, and one of the things that I'm not is afraid of bugs, which is, just neither here nor there. But the other thing is that I have a policy that if a bug gets in your house, like, you can kill it. and I know that some people don't like to do that. Most of the people I know, honestly, but I kind of feel like people who don't kill bugs, maybe it's a religious thing, right? A Buddhist thing, maybe. But I find that it's like if I, as a kid, took care for every bug that I saw and like scooped it up and escorted it outside and released it, that's all I would be doing. I mean, I would wake up with bugs crawling across my chest. At 3 a.m, I would have an itch, and it would be literally like a centipede. So I'm supposed to like wake up and like corral it. Oh, hey, little guy, like, it's fine that you got into my house and are crawling around in my bed. I don't know. I just, maybe people don't like me because I don't know. But but for Edmund anyway, that's a total aside. It has nothing to do with this situation. But I think Edmund has that policy or that attitude of just like, I don't want to kill the bugs for whatever reason. Maybe it's a ethical thing, a life thing, or just a fear thing, or a gross thing, or whatever. But let's rewind this because I wonder if this will be a sign of things to come.
Oh, that was a bug. It touched my eye. You wasn't gonna do nothing about it?
I mean,
that was edited. We don't know. And even in the edit, we see her laughing soon after. So I don't know. It's notable because it is a thing. We can use it as a jumping off point. If you're like this or you have a spouse like this, you know this, that when something goes wrong and the first thing that they will impulsively do is blame the other person, right? Like you get a flat tire. Your partner and you are driving and there's a flat tire. And you get out of the car, oh, there's a flat tire. And they immediately turn to you and say, what did you do? And you're thinking, what do you mean? What could I have done? Ran over nails? What do you think happened? How am I getting blamed for something that isn't possible to blame me for? I drove the car just like you did. What's happening? So I don't know. I have no idea. That's not the way it looked. But again, jumping off point, we can think about that for ourselves. Why would someone do that? Why would we do that? There's various reasons. It has to do with certain schemas, certain experiences growing up. Often shame. If you were repeatedly blamed, if you had a family that tended to blame people pretty quickly, and particularly if it was you, then as soon as something is wrong, there's this very quick unconscious belief that you are to blame, right? There's a flat tire and immediately it's like, oh, I'm to blame, even though no one's to blame. It's just a flat tire. But that shame and that fear, right? And one of the defenses is to get out ahead of that and blame someone else, right? You can imagine being a 7-year-old and blaming your younger brother for something before you have the hammer come down on you, right? That sort of thing. There's a lot of different paths to this, but it's usually shame-based and blame-based. Now, it doesn't make it okay, but it can be, something to work on. Anyway, so I don't know. Well, let's see what happens.
actually, I'm gonna let him live.
No, it's gonna be in our nose and in our face during the night.
Let me save his life. Look at me saving a life.
And it's steady just going around you back to the mirror.
I know I can't do that. I can't do that.
Now, they're already sort of fighting. Now, I think for her, she's thinking, I don't want bugs flying around while I'm sleeping, which I totally get. At this point in my life, I don't live in a house that has a lot of bugs anymore, and so I have the same preference, and my wife really has that preference. So I get that, but I don't know, there's just something kind of interesting about the dynamic here. There seems to be some disconnect, or I wonder what happened. They didn't, in the edit, really show us the two of them connecting the way others were. Like we saw Madison and Joe, and Joe talking about her being what did he say, a larger woman or something, and then we saw Allie and Anton seemingly having some chemistry. Megan and Jordan had seemingly a lot of chemistry. And but with these two we didn't see. So I don't know if they just didn't include it or it wasn't on camera or it didn't happen. So I wonder if Calibria is just like, I'm not feeling it, and then this bug thing happens, and it's just, I'm just annoyed with the situation. I don't know. It just kind of has some kind of look to it.
Can't do that one. He's okay though. He gone. If I see him again though, I gave him a chance. I just say it out loud, but I gave him a chance. I gave him a chance though.
It is weird. There's so many weird things happening that she would take this much issue with it, and that too, he would communicate it in this way. I mean, if she doesn't like the bug, then take care of the bug. Now, if they had established that role and that traditional gender role thing, then okay. But, you know, this is your first day together. You don't really know what your roles are. And he doesn't really care about the bug. You do. You have two hands and a tissue paper, you know. Now, if she has a really hard time with that, she can ask, but to just get, but his communication is really strange. He's like, yeah, it's gone. It's fine. I'll say it out loud, but I gave him a chance. I hope something happened off camera that is informing what's happening here, because it seems like a bickering couple that already doesn't like each other. All right, well, that's enough out of my face for now. Until next time, and take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.